So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome tonight's guest, Gráinne Barry, COO of Salaso. And could you stand up and give a big starter welcome to Gráinne, please? So, Gráinne, just to start, can you just give us a little bit of background of how you got involved in business at the very start?
That sounds like a long time ago. Did I turn that on? I didn't, sorry. I suppose I was always interested in business. Probably from when I was in secondary school, actually. I worked with my uncle who had a number of businesses in Limerick, which is my hometown. And he had a travel agent, a food business, all kinds of things. And I suppose it was my first time ever counting money. So it was that kind of, it was really hands-on experience. And I was going to do business for my A levels, and then they introduced computer science in my school, and that was the first foray into anything technology-wise. So I decided to do computer science, and that was back in 1989. I did it for A level, equivalent to the Leaving Cert, and I think there was maybe a dozen boys and 3 girls. It wasn't even, it's probably similar to now. There wasn't a lot of uptake in girls. And I actually was going to go on and do it in Queen's, and then I had an interest in intervention from a career teacher who says, don't bother with that crack, there's no jobs for females in computer science. And actually we think now where we are, it's a long time since that, it's 1989, but that was my first foray, and then I decided to do food business instead. So that was probably 2 things I've been interested in at the time, either computer science or food business. So I did that in college, and then was lucky enough to get hired by Golden Vale PLC.
That's how you came down this end of the country?
So I had been told I was going to Portadown, and then was told I was going to this tiny little village called Charleville, and which I'd never even heard of at the time. And I came here in 1992, and that was it, I never went back.
So you were a brand manager with Golden Vale, is that right?
Golden Vale, yeah. So I came in, and I was working from fantastic brands, some Charleville cheese, Easy Singles. I was lucky to really get involved at the start of Cheese Strings, which was our big brand, and this technology transfer from a Canadian company. So it was lovely. It was like a start-up within a corporate, because there was a small team, 16 of us, from engineering, technology, marketing, production. We worked very tightly together, and for maybe, I think it was 18 months before the product was even launched. So it was an amazing experience, and I moved to the UK then to Manchester for 2 years with them when they launched in the UK. So that sort of, I would call that, it was an enterprise within an enterprise kind of thing.
Right.
We were doing all the things that startups do in terms of, we went straight from work to the pub at 9 o'clock at night, and we worked 7 days a week, all that kind of stuff.
Imagine a startup going to a pub. Doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah. So it was a great experience. So I worked with Golden Vale for 9 years.
Okay.
And then really we launched it in. That time we launched in Denmark, Belgium, France. So we'd taken the brands. It's now 50 million brands. It's huge now, but it was massive growth trajectory. So the hands-on experience, and I suppose the one thing is you never had to worry about where was the money coming from, because it was within a PLC. So it was a fabulous experience in terms of it was funded and all.
So you had all the innovation without the risk. Excellent. So that gave you a flavour for the whole innovation area. And then what happened after Golden Vale? What was your next move then?
Funny, the next move, I actually was considering at the time staying within the food business, but I was looking for something in the Midwest, because I got married at that point and wanted to stay here. Didn't really want to make the move to Dublin where all the big food brands were. Had talked for a while of moving to London and different things, but decided I was going to stay here. And then actually I had gone to meet a recruitment consultant, and a guy called Morris Carr, Graham, you know him. And I said, and I'm looking for some, I don't know even who told me about Morris, but I met Morris anyway, and said, what's around for somebody with my skill set? And he rang me a week later and said, you come work for me. So it sort of, for me, was the chance to move into what I thought was general management, so I thought, okay, I'm very marketing focused now. So if I want to have a broader operational management skill.
What company was that?
Video.
Okay.
So I joined them as business development manager and worked there for 4 years, and it was great because it was very financial experience, working with accountants all the time. So it was great for the toolkit, as I would call it, in terms of just, I suppose, broadening out the experience.
So you had the branding, and then you had the business development.
The business and just general business, as I would call it. Yeah.
And how did the startup bug hit you then? What came your way?
Funny, when I look back on it, probably like within video, I started up with the financial service division here. So it was always that kind of mentality of, well, you have nothing starting out. So actually, where the building blocks kind of come from. So how are the people, what the systems in place, what's the products, how are we bringing them to market, where's the customers. So it was very similar in a lot of ways, it's just different industry. So then I'd been there 4 years, and actually it was just, I often think I just fall into the next thing in some ways. So it was the best man at my wedding had this idea that he had for an online dating site really, and he was a web developer, and he needed something to showcase his own skills for. He was typically working on contract, and wanted something to showcase his own skills when he went for job interviews. And he said, but he said no business experience. So that was actually how we started together, and we were on my Highley's Quay in his apartment. We were actually working in the shoebox, no windows, nothing. So it is that kind of story. I mean, we worked for maybe 2 years there with hardly room to swing a cat on and 2 computers. And like the internet isn't like it is now. You know, you download the page and go make a cup of tea and wait for it to come down. You know, no Facebook, no Twitter. I mean, it was nothing like there's nothing to your hand, do you know what I mean, really, other than Google.
So this was the start of anotherfriend.com.
The start of Another Friend, yeah.
So he had the idea of using technology and algorithms to match people.
Match people, yeah.
And he was just coming from the tech side.
He was coming from the tech side, and I suppose I was coming from the business side. And I had tried a business when I was with BDO. I started a holistic wellness business with a cousin of mine, and called Equilibrium. It was up in Newry, and the branding was right, the bank supported it, all that kind of building blocks was right, but we hadn't done enough with the size of the market. So it didn't work the last about 2 years. That was pre Another Friend. But great again, it was good experience, do you know what I mean? So why it didn't work, and what kind of business that I would like to do again, what kind of one I wouldn't like. Right. You know, so it was good learning experience.
So how did Another Friend start then? So you decided to join forces, you left BDO.
I left BDO, and I suppose really Kevin coded the website. I was working on all the building blocks. We were very lucky in that we went to Limerick City Enterprise Board for a grant, and we couldn't get anything from the banks. Sorry to anybody who's here from the bank, but we couldn't get anything from the bank because one, we had no assets. There was no building. There was none of that kind of stuff. Digital assets were not like they were on paper now. It was just, it doesn't exist. You know, this is 2002, 2001, so there was nothing. But Limerick City Enterprise Board supported us, so they gave us some kind of startup, maybe a feasibility study grant, I think. I continued to work as a marketing consultant part-time to actually fund the business. That's how we got through it in the early days.
Pretty much bootstrapped.
Totally bootstrapped, but we never took investment in all our time. We were very lucky. Once we were very focused on the numbers. So it literally went from having 20 users to 50 users to 100 users, thousands. And once we hit the 1,000, it started, the increments, you could see it was 2005, 10, 20. It started to go in significant numbers. But getting the sweat to get them first top couple of hundred was wicked. It was every friend and family to every single person we could find to get onto Another Friend. And in them days, like, online dating wasn't stigma. It's not like now, you know. Where we kept saying it'll become the norm, you know, because we knew from the States that, you know, after friends and family, it was the second most common way to meet somebody. And, you know, actually in the States they say, why aren't you online dating? You know, it was a total opposite of here. Essentially, that's just.
So this was pre-Tinder, pre-apps. Even Facebook wasn't really
Facebook wasn't
big.
Here. Well, Facebook wasn't around.
At all?
No.
So did you rely on Google AdWords for marketing?
Rely on Google AdWords and word of mouth. So and we also would run meetups. So we ran meetups and
physical meetups
all around the country, and that worked. It was a great recruitment mechanic. Yeah, but Google AdWords, I mean, at the height of it, we would even spending 50 grand a month on Google.
Wow.
Yeah, but we knew for every year we spent we got 5 returns. So we had the metrics. We knew the metrics really well. So we were very focused on the data.
So the physical meetups sort of helped overcome the barrier of this online dating stigma.
I think what people see was that there's people like me and you and everybody else on it, you know, so it took away, you know, that kind of side to it.
How did you monetize that then? How did you...
How you monetize it? We had a different business model actually than some of our competitors. So at the time we were there's another website called maybe friends.com that launched around the same time as us, and it was owned by, I think back in the day it was one of the radio stations in Dublin. It became 2FM anyway eventually, and had a number of owners. They had different business models. You could try it for free. So basically we're saying no barriers in terms of social network. You could send messages, exchange messages, talk to anybody, but if you want to send an email address, phone number or arrangement to meet, you needed to upgrade and pay.
Okay.
And there's also a set of functionality that was, I suppose now would be called the freemium model, that actually if you wanted that functionality like events boards and message boards stuff, you had to pay for it.
And did people try to get around that?
Oh, everything. We would have people send in Morse code, you know, for like Hotmail, written in every kind of thing, and numbers, you know, and all kinds of things.
How did you capture that then if they were trying to get around
I
it?
suppose Kevin was a great coder, so that was part of it. You know, we had all kinds of scripts to actually pick all that stuff up,
right.
And then we've done moderation as well. So in the later years, when it was like.
And then if two people found each other attractive or whatever, they had to pay their how much, like a monthly premium?
This was a monthly fee, and like at the time I think it was $9.99. It probably started. I think it started less than that. It started at $4.95, and this is a long time ago now. And then it went to, I remember, $9.99. But people would do anything to avoid paying that for a month. You know, anything. You know, some would just straight away. And usually what we find is that if people are serious around dating, they just would pay it.
Yeah.
And then it's up to them. We did not. There's no picking people or anything like that. They find their own matches. You know,
okay.
So it was like you could say, I'm looking for somebody 25 to 30 in Limerick who's interested in rowing, and they'll throw you back a search, and then it's up to you to scan the profile pretty much like you would now and get in contact with them.
And at that time, what was the biggest site in the world, or what was the biggest one in America or the UK?
The biggest one was actually founded in 1995, a company called Match.com, which would be the world leading online dating site now. They would have presence in Ireland in later years, but I can remember they came here first, and we were like, oh God, this is it, it's over, you know. But at that stage we had enough people, you know, so we were always equated looking into a big pub versus a small pub. They just didn't have the people, you know, so we had already captured that critical mass at that stage.
And I'm guessing they didn't have physical meetups or whatever.
No, they didn't.
So that kind of worked in a small country.
There's a cultural thing as well, I suppose, you know, and like Ireland's tiny, you know, for an online dating business. Eventually they came in twice, and in my time they came in twice, and they maybe stayed 6 months and dropped off, and it would be in the market now. In terms of for that relationship category, and then obviously very deep pockets, but it was a different culture to what they were normally used to, definitely.
And so you were going a couple of years, you're beginning to make a bit of revenue.
Yeah. We were is it luck or what, or do you make your own luck? But we did a few things that actually made a significant difference. One was we secured the Irish Times as a partner. Back, I think we launched their service on Valentine's Day 2004. So we weren't that long in. So that was a sales job. We wanted a brand with a reputation that would say online dating's okay. You know, and once we got the Irish Times, that was it.
And I guess at that time they were getting into property and cars and bringing all their traditional newspaper stuff online.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what we'd say, like, you know, you would have had Daft and property, or My Home, as they later bought for 50 million. You know, we would have had Carzone, certainly they would have had Irish Times jobs, and then for us then we were the other, if you think back a traditional newspaper, would have had all them verticals. Was
that the Ireland.com days of the Irish Times?
Days, yeah.
Was Kieran Hart CEO then?
Una Hart was the first lady that I dealt with, and then Kieran Hart in latter years then. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was a great partnership.
Fantastic.
How did that work?
They're still a partner for another friend now. So
how did that partnership work between
you?
you?
So basically it was a revenue share. So we both had skin in the game. So they were doing is bringing us the traffic, and then we were operating the service and giving them a revenue share.
Brilliant.
It worked really well. Yeah.
And did you get support from EI, or did you need to get private funding at any stage?
We never did. I suppose it's the kind of business that actually once somebody joins up and pays you, that's your revenue share.
Recurring revenue.
Yeah, so you know, it's recurring revenue as long as they stay in the service. So we get small grants from Limerick City Enterprise Board. We might have got some small grants from Enterprise Ireland, but we never did the HBS Youth thing. We did the HBS Youth thing. We did something that was precursor to that, I think, back in the day, and we never did private funding.
Okay, and you still have that still involved?
I'm not involved in operation. I haven't been for a good few years now. But I suppose I had done it for 10 years, and we had 2 offers to buy it and never sold. We acquired acquired maybe friends actually here from Today FM actually, and then we bought a small site in the UK. So we just couldn't get it. We couldn't get it to scale internationally.
Right.
So we knew this is the business we have. So Kevin still runs it. I haven't worked in it for a good few years. So it still be the leading site in terms of people who are looking for partnerships or marriage, as they say. Like, we're very much. I mean, when I left, we had, I think, over 600 weddings in our lifetime that we knew of. You know.
600?
Yeah, but I'd say we didn't even know the half of them.
You couldn't charge when they got married extra? You could try.
No, and we never invited to the wedding, but we did have one couple who said they named a cocktail after another friend at the wedding. So some people be very public about it. And I remember maybe the first couple that got married off the website and told us anyway. You know, we were hyper in the office. You know, we thought this is fantastic, and but they didn't tell anybody. They said they met at a hurling match because they didn't want anybody to know. You know, so that was what it was like in the early 2000s. You know, in the early 2000s, really.
So even though you didn't scale internationally, I know you mentioned to me that EI at one stage said you were the model company because you turned over $1 million, and they didn't have many at that stage that turned.
I remember being really surprised and I suppose I didn't know enough about startups back then to say that so few actually make it and actually make thresholds like $1 million. You know, because you hear about obviously the big stories, but actually how difficult it is to get from 0 to $1 million, then $1 million to 3. You know, it's quite. So I remember them saying, I was like, well, because we had always thought ourselves out in the fringes, and we never shouted about another friend ever, and we should have. We never did, probably because I don't ever really do anything like this, and Kevin was probably similar. So we never talked about it at the time, particularly. Now we won Limerick. What's the awards at Limerick City Enterprise Board? We won Limerick Company of the Year or something back in 2005, maybe. But we never did shout about it. But that was interesting. That was an interesting site for me.
So it's still running.
Still running away, yeah.
How, like the likes of Tinder having become so big, is that a younger demographic? I mean, have you got the same members for a number of years, or do you have new members all the time? And is there an age profile?
Certainly, when I was involved, there was an age profile. We were 28 to 68. You know, that's the reality. And I suppose I don't know much about the industry now, or Tinder really. But certainly back then, you would have had the second-time rounders coming into the market when I left in 4 or 5 years ago that we wouldn't have had when we started.
Right.
So you definitely could see a shift in the dynamic. And funny, there was certainly around 2009-10, there was a lot of dating sites that started in Ireland. There would have been golf dating, and there was people who tried to do niche within niche. Where it would be very common in the US, you'd have Republican Party dating and vegetarian dating and date my pet and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's America, so every niche is big enough to have a business in. It's just not here. So there was a plethora for about 2 or 3 years in the late 2000s. People saw, that's a great business. Okay. You know, the technology is not that complicated to build as technology advanced, but actually the scale is the issue.
But you hung in there. Okay, and so at some stage it was running well, and you made a move. Then what instigated that, or what was your next move?
What instigated really was I'd been doing it for 10 years, and I thought, okay, we decided not to sell it twice, and then we just thought, okay, we're just probably going to leave this business is going to run. So I said, right, well, I don't really want to do that for the next 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just thought, okay, it's going to be an Irish business. It's going to be this size or whatever it's going to be, and there was nothing really that was, I suppose, going to be innovative in it. Do you know what I mean? So
before you made that decision, did you ever look down the route of moving to the west coast of the States and looking for funding and stuff? Was that seriously looked at, or did you? We did look at it, but actually the market was just, there was plenty of merger and acquisition activity in it, but actually the market was too mature. Okay.
It was way too mature. Matt had bought Meetup, which was a large European company. There was, until Tinder or Grindr came along, there was no innovation in the space at all. Actually, mobile was the shift. Right. It actually did bring new innovation to it, but no, that wasn't.
So you were ready after 10 years to move on, and what was your next step then?
Well, my next step was I decided I was going to go back to what I'd done. I was going to start at another friend, was actually work for myself as a consultant, and just see where it would take me. That's really what my decision was. So I was very fortunate that I actually secured some clients to work with fairly quickly. So I was lucky actually working with CPL for quite a bit of time grew on their web portfolio, and I also worked with some startup companies who were building tech from the start, who had a product idea. So I would work with Rock Advisor.
That's Sonia Lennon?
Sonia Lennon, yeah, on their minimum viable product when they were conceptualising that into a piece of tech that actually they could bring and test in the market. And I worked with Tempity, different Tempity, there'd be recruitment software actually. And then I had a couple of other digital clients that I worked with.
And what was your sort of area of expertise that you were giving them there? What exactly were you concentrating on?
I suppose really it was probably strategy predominantly, and also just actually the thing of actually taking their idea and actually building it into a product. You know, so because sometimes that's where people get stuck actually, is actually getting, I suppose, out of their head onto paper and into
MVP.
An MVP. And particularly if you're not a technologist. I know I had some tech background, but I'm not a coder by any means, but I sort of understand the space and I'm comfortable in it.
For people that mightn't have heard of it, will you explain minimum viable product?
Yeah, I suppose it's really a working prototype in digital form that actually you can sit down with the customer and they can walk through what your idea and product is and get a feel for it and basically give you feedback. And sometimes it goes beyond that, actually having a working prototype that actually you can put into market and, you know, test with your prospective clients, really.
Do you think some startups spend too much time polishing and bringing their product to this perfect thing before launching?
Yes. Yeah, I think you're better off getting out there as quick as you can. Yeah.
Make a bit of revenue.
And there is two schools of
Feedback.
thought on it. You know, some people say, you know, fail early, get out there and fail early, and other people say, well, actually get your business in a good enough condition, you've thought enough through that you have a product that actually you don't look half-formed. So there is two schools of thought on it. It really depends how good your MVP is, you know.
Getting that balance right.
Getting the balance right.
Because your product could be brilliant, but there mightn't be any demand in the market for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you've got to know first is actually the market size and why would somebody use it? What's the problem you're solving?
Okay. So you were consulting away, working for some interesting companies.
And I was on the lookout for the right opportunity. So I was interested in scaling another product business like another friend had been. So it was a SaaS model. It was all about numbers. And I was looking for, I suppose I had a certain criteria, and then I was looking for a product-based business that was Midwest based, it was Munster based. So like the previous time, I wasn't going to move into Dublin.
Okay.
So even though I spent a good bit of time there, but actually I was ideally looking for a business that was based here.
So is that based on the fact that you wanted to have your own personal life as well, and not be spending times in trains and planes and automobiles?
Not really, but I suppose I like Limerick. You know, I don't. So this is my home. Do you know what I mean? So I think probably having done one startup, you get a feel for actually. You know, it's very rarely that it's a year, and it's 2 years. So I'm very much into this is a marathon, not a sprint. So work it out for your life as well. Okay. You know, yes, give it the hours and give it whatever it needs, but actually you have to get the best out of it, you have to keep some balance.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's that. I had some.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you came across Salaso?
Well, yeah, actually, Aoife found me a guy I had done an Enterprise Ireland IGAP course, and we had a mutual friend who'd been in that, and Aoife was looking for somebody with some technology skills and commercialisation skills. And we made a few meetings and spent a few months talking to each other actually before we decided this was a good yin and yang for building a business, really.
So tell us a bit about Salaso.
So Salaso is a digital health technology company. What we do is amplify physical therapy. So really, in a nutshell, it's by getting people better faster. Whether that person is an athlete or a patient or someone who's in home care. It's actually in terms of its physical rehabilitation, so it's usually a physiotherapist or physical therapist or an orthopedic surgeon who is delivering their clinical knowledge through our technology to a patient. And the patient, it's through a mobile device, whether it be a tablet or a mobile phone. They can use a desktop. They get a set of exercises that have been prescribed for them, and they complete the rehab and send their compliance back to the practitioner.
So if I go to a physio and they give me a program, a printout of a diagram, whatever, isn't enough. So this is like videos through an app and stuff, is it?
Printouts don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 out of 10 people don't look at the printout app where they're actually struggling to remember their exercises. They're actually, am I doing that the right way? So, you know, it's picture paints 1,000 words and video paints 1,000 pictures. So actually, it's the best learning medium. So it's all about really, it's about education and actually helping people to adhere to their exercise program. So, because it's very frustrating for physio actually, because they know if you go back in 2 weeks later and actually say, well, you're no better because you haven't been able to do your exercises. So it's actually about that, and building in things like reminders to your exercises and some of the gamification elements that you'd use in terms.
Okay, so you must have a huge amount of content then for all the different.
Aoife, that's her expertise, and she spent a couple of years building that clinical library. Yeah.
Is it a little bit like that Irish company, John Moore, 3D for Medical?
3D4, actually, we do work with we're partner 3D4 Medical in terms of they take our content into one of their apps that they market then in the US. Actually, it was with them today, so we do work with them guys.
So tell us a little bit about the whole digital health space.
Yeah, I suppose the digital health and wellness and fitness stuff, really there's an explosion here everywhere globally, and Ireland really will be punching above its weight now in terms of the kind of I suppose digital health startups that there are. Salaso is only one of them, but we've also obviously there's a lot of work going on in the EHSE as well, and Richard Corbridge and and Clyde Hutchison there with the e-health movement. So there is I suppose everywhere in terms of how do you pioneer digital health to actually transform the health industry. So a lot of it's some private health, some public, but actually the big problem in the US, UK, Ireland and most developed economies is they can't afford their health system. So digital health for me would be is the way that actually that can be done and done fast. So Salaso would be case in point, do you know what I mean? So where we've done clinical trials now, we're actually in the NHS, where they've been able to treat 3 times more patients of the same cost resource using Salaso's technology. So it's actually how you get more bang for your buck. It's all about, return on investment at the end of the day.
So I'm guessing to be scalable, you're dealing with an enterprise product rather than the B2C.
Yeah. Oh yes, it's all okay. To be. So we work with organisations who have a bank of patients or athletes or whatever. Yeah.
So it's large clinics and hospitals and stuff.
Large clinics and hospitals, yeah. So they would be like we work with networks who have maybe 38 hospitals throughout the UK, or big insurance companies. Yeah.
You might have a couple of good business leads in the audience because 2 of the Munster team are here.
Okay, very good. So we have some sports. We Cricket Scotland use it now. The English FA Physio uses it at Spark Forum, St George's Park in the UK. So
brilliant. We're
starting to get some early traction in sports. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And how's it going for you? What stage are you at?
Well, I suppose what stage are we at? We're probably at the...
Couple of years old?
Oh yeah, we're 4 years old now, and so we have the clinical library. We have everything from both orthopedics into cancer care, exercise, women's health. So there's a lot of specialities within the content stuff. And then we across the iOS and Android platforms. So we're just about to hire a CTO, which is great. So we're at that key point for us now in terms of scale out. And so our business, we're very much focused on the UK and the US market, and obviously Ireland. It's that point of commercialisation really.
Just talk about the different roles between CEO, your COO, and you're bringing the Chief Technical Officer on board. Yeah, I suppose the
CEO is obviously the figurehead of the business.
The vision.
Is the visionary, and also I suppose the buck stops there. That's the
boss lady.
That's the boss lady. And I suppose my role is operations, is to get things done. It's solve problems. Make sure everything's in place.
Day-to-day running.
Day-to-day running, yeah, day-to-day operation stuff.
Sales?
Yes, I've really taken on sales in one vertical, which is corporate wellness, or employee wellness. So that's something that yeah.
And the CEO would also be looking at the whole funding side of things, right?
Funding side, yeah. So we've taken 2 rounds of funding from private investors and EI, and we'll see how we go for in 2017, depending on how we need to expand out from the US.
So VCs?
No VCs, not yet. No VCs.
Okay, and have you found EI to be helpful?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, really good. Now they've been very supportive, I suppose, not just alone in financial terms, but we participated in Arab Health out in Dubai. They've been fantastic in the UK to us in terms of network, small things, even using the office, any introductions they can make, super. We have a great DA here. and generally just supportive. Done the Accelerate program, and
it's not just all about money then, right? It's the network and advice and so on.
Yeah, exactly. And the US actually, they've been very useful to us in Boston, which is they've a healthcare advisor based in the US. Yes.
And what's the business model then?
So it's different than with two business models, because in corporate wellness it's on a per employee basis, and in healthcare then it's a per practitioner or a hospital site license. So very different from software as a service. It's enterprise sale.
How does the corporate welfare work?
Corporate wellness would work if you, for example, you'll all know companies where they're sitting doing this all day, and we don't know what that's going to do to people. We only have an idea, but actually what's that going to do to bodies in 10, 20, 30 years time? So the whole concept of exercise within the workplace, you'll see Apple have a gym, Google the same, so they're all putting the activity, all that stuff in place. But that's very much left to the discretion of the employee to do.
Okay.
So actually the piece that we fall into is actually screening an individual. So in other words, for posture movement or any kind of recurring.
Ergonomics?
It's not really ergonomics. It's to do with their own body. So for example, you might discover that somebody's actually got a neck injury from it could be their manual labour and they're doing this all the time, or actually they're doing this all the time. And actually to be able to, a lot of them have occupational health practitioners within their organisations. And this is the tool where actually the employee can go home with an app, or can do it in the working environment, and they can then do their set of exercises that are prescribed to them. So they're not downloading a set of exercises from YouTube. These are clinically prescribed. So the thing about Salaso is there's always a clinician in the mix. So it's not that somebody can self-prescribe.
And in a cynical kind of way, is that started to preempt any kind of legal?
I don't think so. I think now the employers are serious with a duty of care to their employees. Whether it be mental health or musculoskeletal health, physical body. Okay. So, or cardiac indeed. Do you know what I mean? So there's serious employers treat that differently now.
So you have two parallel revenue streams there.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. How have you found working out of Limerick and the startup community? What could be done better here? What's good about here?
I suppose it's always easy to say what can be done better, but I suppose I'm based in the Nexus Innovation Centre, and I think that's probably the best of what Limerick has to offer, to be honest, because when I was here with another friend, finding a decent office space in the city centre was not easy, for a small startup, and certainly we were connected to nobody, in some ways, because our business was all in Dublin, and we were a national business. I was a member of Network back then.
Network Limerick,
but actually all our business in turn was actually Dublin based in terms of the context, the Irish Times, etc. So there wasn't a startup community, that didn't exist certainly. I don't know when it's arrived, but certainly wasn't there in the early 2000s. I think the Nexus is the best of what Limerick has to offer. But I still think I was lucky that I did the Venture Start 2 program, which was the Shannon Development Initiative. We did that for a couple of years, which really helped us in terms of the business knowledge, because network is one side of it, resources is another, and location, but actually the education for startups, because if you're starting up and if you know business experience, it's actually how do you join docs, do you know what I mean? How do you find recruitment companies, the accountant, the legal people, and you only really get it from other entrepreneurs. You want somebody who's walked in that road before you, and I think that's hard to find in Limerick.
So in school you were one of 3 in the computer science class, women. Have things changed much? Women in tech still
I think it has. There's been a lot of talk about, a lot of noise about it. But certainly when I was in the online dating space, I went to conferences in the States, and again it was less than 5% females.
Even in that space?
Even in that space. Yeah, it was predominantly men. And I don't think the tide has moved that significantly. I think we still struggle to get girls interested in technology, and I think technology is, some people think, well, how do you get girls to become coders? It's not about that. They need to understand the Internet of Things. They need to understand whether you're running a bakery or you're a hairdresser or whatever you want to do. Actually, technology is going to be part of your business in the future. Your clients are going to book their appointments online. If you look at a business like Yellow Schedule, everything is going to be done through a mobile device, and that's not taught in schools. So for me, it's the sooner they get that element of technology as well as coding into schools, because coding can be something that actually puts girls off. That's all the evidence says that. But actually, funny, I was involved in something recently. We did a survey of girls. Most of them hadn't heard of the Internet of Things, and they're 14. Really. So I think the education system is missing something there.
So they need role models like yourself, Martina Skelly, and so on.
It helps because, and that we didn't necessarily have, I'm lucky in that I have a few who are, a step ahead of me, 10 years older than me, and one of the things I'd say to an entrepreneur now is get somebody who's that step ahead of you, because that's the role model you're following.
And do you believe in positive discrimination with the likes of the CSF fund, for female CSF fund? Is that a good thing? Is that necessary?
Well, I think it is, and I'll tell you why. But I think there is some unconscious bias there. But I actually think it's more about niches actually. So if you look at it, there's the female fund, but also there's a lot coming down in terms of fintech, in terms of food and agri. So I think if you look at actually building up niches, and Ireland has been getting good at that. And building up niches where they can win. And I think female justice is another one of them. So I think it helps more women have a go. The same as if it's fintech or if it's agri and food. It's just helping people who are in that vertical to have a go. So it's easier for females if they can do it within their own stream.
Okay. That's fantastic. Let's just open up the discussion to the audience. Hopefully you've a few questions for Gráinne. Okay, just to wrap up, we have the hall for another half an hour or so, but just to wrap up here, Gráinne, that was fantastic sharing that with us and really, really useful. Could you give us your top 3 tips for startups from your experience?
From my experience, I'd say probably the first one, if I said in hindsight what would have done differently, probably if you have an idea, shout about it very loud. Because you're better off feeling in a blaze of glory, really.
Expose it to oxygen, tell people about it, just not be hoarding it.
Actually, the network effect, we underestimate it sometimes in Ireland, because it is actually, people want to help people. So if you, and the will, if you just ask. So I'd say that would be one thing I'd say is tell the world.
Great.
The second thing I would say would be, you got to be prepared for, this is aptly named with grind, because sometimes it is a grind, and it's real highs and lows. People say it's a roller coaster, it absolutely is. So you have to be resilient, whether you're an entrepreneur on your own, you're an entrepreneur in a company, that if you're involved in creating something, you have to be prepared for the highs and lows. That's the second thing. So to be prepared and know your why you're doing it, and is there a big enough problem you're solving? Because not worth creating a business that actually is only a job for yourself.
Yeah.
And for me, the third thing would be focus on the numbers. So it's not necessarily about getting your first investment actually, but your first sale is a big deal. So that sales focus, or if it's numbers that you need to get, look at the data all the time. It's all about metrics, and sales bring investment and all the rest of it. So I would say focus on the numbers. Whatever your metrics are, know them and
excellent.
Deliver them ideally.
Brilliant. 3 brilliant tips. Thanks very much for joining Startup Gráinne Limerick.
Thank you.